So welcome everybody to Pavan's Perspective. I have a very exciting special guest for you, Ron Johnson, a professional boxer, businessman, amazingly successful person in his life. And I can't wait to hear his story. It is an incredible story of twists and turns and suspense and thrills and drama. That's why you all tune in, to get excitement, education, and entertainment all at the same time. So let's go. Ron Johnson, tell me about yourself.
Hey everyone, thank you for having me. I'm Ron Johnson. I'm also known as the American Dream. I'm from Cleveland, Ohio originally, but I've been living in Las Vegas about 21 years. I'm a professional boxer, businessman, philanthropist, father, husband, all of those good things. And I I basically started boxing at the age of 7 years old. I'm named after my uncle who actually unfortunately died in the ring when he was 19. So I was born a year later. I went on to win over 100 amateur fights. I represented the United States in the Pan Am Games in 2002. And then I was fortunate to meet Layla Ali, Muhammad Ali's daughter, and I went to see her fight February 14, 2003 in Louisville, Kentucky. She actually brought me in, moved me here to Las Vegas. So this is how I got to Las Vegas, and I lived with her for over a year and a half and got to, hang out with her dad and her and all those good, cool things. And my career just kind of took off from there. So that was the start that gave me the foundation, and it was pretty cool from there.
Okay. When did you win your first title?
I won my first title in 2007, October 6, 2007. I was in my hometown of Cleveland, Ohio. It's actually when I just had started to promote fights. It was the first promotion I ever promoted. It was, I had a lot of friends who died in the ring. Well, not died in the ring, but died from senseless violence. And basically, I wanted to do something where I created my own promotional company, but I can also send a good message. So I created a 501c3, my own foundation. It was called Put Down the Guns, Pick Up the Gloves. And I partnered with Jim Brown, who was the Cleveland Browns football legend, probably the greatest running back in football history. Partnered with him, and I partnered with LeBron James. Well, all of us are from Cleveland, and we put this big event on it, which was, like I said, was my first boxing promotion, and it was super successful. And so that was the night that I actually fought for the first title, and I won. And so from there, I went on and I created a name for myself, and not only from being a fighter, but also being one of the young guys that kind of took control of my own career in my own hands and started promoting fights and things like
that. So wow. So you were your own promoter, and how old were you when you did that?
I was 21 years old, and this is in 2007. So this is before the only other fighter that had a promotional company was Oscar De La Hoya at the time, which was Golden Boy. So I was like before a lot of other boxers that wanted to start creating their own promotional entities. I actually helped Floyd with Mayweather Promotions. I actually helped Zab Judah with Super Judah Promotions. I helped a lot of these guys have that kind of forward thinking about creating their own and having their own promotional entities.
Got it. So 21 years old, you're passionate. You're in boxing since you were 7, and 21
Yes.
years old, you got your own promotion company and you put on your own world title or title championship.
Correct.
That you won, and you won on top.
And I won, yes, and I won.
And you won.
And so that was the bonus, and basically I was able to do that fight for pennies on a dollar, but we made good money. It was 5,000 seats, all sold out. We had a lot of sponsors. Like, it was just really good. A lot of broadcasting rights, different things. So
yeah, and so I think a lot of people will be asking the question, like, so how does a 21-year-old kid connect with rock stars like LeBron James and to bring in that partner. How did you do that sale? Like, how did you break through those
Well,
doors?
so to basically, long story short, in 2001, right after September 11th, um, Don King promoted a fight, which was Felix Trinidad versus Bernard Hopkins in New York City. Don King flew me to that fight in New York, but he also flew LeBron James to that fight as well, and he introduced us to each other. So this is the first time I ever met him. 2001. This is before he become so huge, and Don King said, "Hey, I want you two to meet each other. You know, he's gonna be the next. He's gonna be bigger than Michael Jordan. He's gonna be huge, and Ron's gonna be big, world champion like Mike Tyson, and this and that." So you know, we remained cordial and cool throughout the years, and then about 6 months later, he was on every cover of every magazine. You know, coming out of high school. So it was the timing was really cool. So just those having that relationship from that aspect, that's where it all kind of crept in. The hardest one to pull into that scenario was Jim Brown. Now Jim Brown's a tough sell. You know, may he rest in peace. He just passed away this year, but no easy sell, no easy sell.
Okay, I think that's what's really going to get people interested. So when you say no easy sale, and a lot of our audience are, they're business people, they're salespeople, they're struggling often to break through a door and to get someone's attention. So can you talk a little bit about that? How did you break through? How did he get his attention?
Well, one, he wanted, if a lot of people know the backstory of Jim Brown, he was very militant guy. He had a program called AngelAi Can, and it was like helping a lot of like ex gang members, prisoners, felons, and different things like that to get back on their feet. So he's a very stern guy, like super stern, kind of scary in a way, big guy. So you know, and when I went into the first meeting, he didn't like the fact that I had someone there trying to sell him, which he wanted to have a more genuine kind of conversation. So when I had my guy there, who's a super sales pitch kind of guy, he's like Joe Pesci. He doesn't know how to actually read the room. He's very hyper and just don't don't read the emotion of the other person. He's just one track and he's going off. And so Jim Brown said, "Stop, stop, 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 stop." Stopped him right in his track. "Stop. You leave the room. Get out of here. Go. You go." So now I'm like, oh shoot, because Jim Brown's a very scary guy, right? So I'm like, oh no. I'm like, oh no, why he didn't kick him out? Because I'm used to leaning on my sales guy to like kind of guide this whole thing, this process now. So now it's like, hey, just be myself. So now sit down, we start playing chess, and he starts asking me these questions. Why should I put my program on this? Why what is how this is going to help me? So now I have to go into it, but I just went into it from a genuine aspect. Hey, Jim, you from the same city as me. We both grew up here in Cleveland. We both know how dangerous this is. Um, I've lost a lot of friends to this, and I think it's a great message to send because boxing saved my life. You from these streets, you're the greatest running back in NFL history, and we got LeBron. So I'm like, hey, this is how much bigger can this be? We need to do this. And I broke it down, and I said, I have a company that wants to donate 3 homes to us that we're gonna donate to 3 single moms, and I'll put those through American and put down the guns, pick up the gloves. So I had to give him this whole spiel of how we're gonna do it from A to Z, and he finally gave me the nod, exactly just like that. He just shook my hand, and we did that.
Right. So bottom line is you knew your stuff. You were well prepared,
Yes,
and you were just yourself.
had to be myself, and I didn't overdo it. That he didn't like to overdo. And I guess in reference to where you're going with that is you got to know how to read the room and know the person you're talking to.
Right.
So
Yeah, you gotta to be in sales. You gotta have a high emotional IQ.
Yes. Yes.
You have to have a lot of empathy. You have to be really able to put yourself into not just. I think the mistake people make is you think you that salespeople get in your head. No, they don't. They're not reading your mind. They're not reading what you're thinking, but they are reading what you're feeling. And that's actually
Right.
a lot easier to do than people realize. And the easiest way to read how someone else is feeling is you got to put your own ego aside, and then
Right.
the other person's energy just kind of flows, and you could just feel it. It's
Yeah,
it's
no, I agree. I agree with you.
it's a
I
little
definitely
harder to
agree.
do. It's a little harder to do on Zoom. I mean, it's being
Yeah.
obstructed by the internet in between. But I'm feeling a really great energy and a real
No, thank
positive
you.
vibes
Same,
right now.
same, same.
Yeah,
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I just had an amazing day so far, and just working on something big right now. So it's a really good day. And then I was super excited to get on the podcast with you guys. So it's just like the good ending to the day.
yeah, awesome. So one more question, like, okay, so how did he even get that first meeting? How did he convince him? A guy like that, so strict and you
Yeah.
know.
So being from Cleveland, I had made a lot of great relationships growing up, and it was a gentleman by the name of James Box who worked for the city of Cleveland, but then he also lived on my street as a kid when I was growing up. So we always stayed in contact, and I knew he did a lot of stuff for Jim Brown. So he was the one that was able to arrange the meeting for me.
Gotcha,
So yeah, at
gotcha.
first, I was coming through the door with a very reputable person from his party that knew, but then the other person that I brought, they wasn't expecting him, so that's why it started like that.
Yeah, yeah, gotcha. You made a really good point there. I mean, you said you growing up, you made a lot of relationships. And who would have thought that relationships you made as a kid would lead to
Right.
something so big,
Yeah,
right?
just the guy that lived at the end of the street. I think he had just been released from prison, but he would be down the street working out all the time. And I would be riding my bike and I see him all the time. And I always, hey, Mr. James Box, still speak to him and stuff. And we always stayed in touch. And he knew I was boxing and things. And he always, social media was able to come around a lot, MySpace and Facebook and things like that. Whereas he was able to stay on top of like what I was doing with my career, and then the opportunity presented itself. So
Yeah. So, and so you sort of had this talent kind of natural, like not only the a natural athlete, but he had this natural talent of having a high emotional IQ. Seems like you're kind of born with these gifts.
I believe so. I think it's I you know I've worked hard of wanting to be that way, but then I think my dad and my mom did a lot of good things for me early on that kind of helped me shape those, becoming a people person. And I sold a lot of things when I was a kid, like oils and incense, like, right. So I sold, oh yeah, from 9 years old on. So different things like that. So I was always around different kinds of people, different personalities. I sell to this person, sell to that person. I knew when somebody was wasting my time. I knew when somebody was a good, prospect. Or then I also learned, don't judge a book by its cover because it might be something good there. All kinds of things. So
That's awesome. You just brought back a memory to me that I haven't thought about in decades. My first sales experience was, I think it was in the fifth grade. They had
wow.
they had those things, the school had this thing like if you sell so many candies, you win these prizes.
Oh
And
yeah.
and I wanted that top prize. I wanted it so badly. So
Wow.
I
You
so
said
I so I signed up for it and I combed, every day after school I'd walk the neighborhood, right, and as far as I could to
wow.
sell as many candy bars as I could.
Wow. No, that's
I,
good.
I didn't make the top prize, but that was I did good. I didn't make the top prize, but it was
Hmm.
a great just sales experience. I liked the fact that my parents let me do it. And it was a different time back then in the early '80s, and things were a lot
Right.
safer as well. So, and my parents, they were smart. They let me do it because they're like, okay, the kid's gonna learn to sell. Let him do it.
No, yeah, for sure. Yep. That was my dad. We always sold general merchandise and all sorts of things. So that definitely helped. Different areas my dad would take me in. And when I was 12, 13 years old, I would be working in a bar with him at night, selling stuff to people that's drunk. And I shouldn't even be in the bar, right? But I'm dealing with all these type of personalities. But I'm glad I was able to experience those things because it actually helped me deal with all kinds of people from all walks of life in any type of situation. So it works.
Okay.
Works.
All right. So we know like how you got, your first big break and how you got, how you won your first title. And then obviously it's just been nothing but, well, I'm sure there were some downs along the way, but a lot of success. And here you are. So what's the future for Ron?
The future is, I signed a multi-year deal with, it was formerly Valley Sports, but now it's FanDuel Sports, and Stadium app. Basically, they're both, they both air a lot of sports teams. So like FanDuel Sports have contracts with the NBA, a lot of the NBA teams, MLB teams, and hockey. So that's where a lot of people like if wherever you are in the United States, that's how you're able to watch a lot of the teams play. But then also the other app. So basically, I'm looking forward to buying the United States broadcasting rights for the December 7th WBA heavyweight championship fight, which is going to be in Sofia, Bulgaria. So I'm going to buy the American rights for it so I can put it on the network that I have here with the deal that I have. So I just was looking forward to just building the promotional company, have about 10 to 12 fights a year on television, help a lot of the guys um, just become like that farm system where a lot of people get to see a lot of the fights. The big fights is all people seem to see these days. But what about the next guys that's coming up? I don't feel like they get enough attention these days, and that's where a lot of people don't know a lot of fights about a fighter when they get to a certain level. So then they'll see a guy just come out of nowhere and get a big fight with Canelo or get a big fight with this person. They'd be like, "Who is Canelo fighting? He's a bum." Well, just because you haven't heard of him doesn't mean he's a bum. But I want to make put put the story together. That's where I think the UFC done a great job with storylines and WWE. To get kind of even add that kind of flavor to it, like Vince McMahon did, and give the fighters a storyline so we can who these guys are. Just like back in the day, you had when the Sugar Ray Leonards and all these different people fought. You loved them because you knew their story. You got to follow. You got to see who that person was, and I feel like that's where we're lacking. So I want to just fill in those creases in boxing. I don't want to be the world's biggest promoter. I just want to fill that void and make a lot of money in that area where I'm there. And then I also want to be like the boxing Netflix. Basically, when you go on to the EntreBox app, I want to have 1 hour documentaries on not just all the fighters that everybody hear about every day, not just the Shane Mosleys and the Roy Joneses and the Sugar Ray Leonards, Muhammad Ali, Tyson's, but there's so many moving parts in boxing where there was certain managers, certain people in the gym that kept a lot of people hyped up, like Crocodile Dundee from Muhammad Ali, managers, promoters, do 1 hour specials and have these specials that there's nowhere in our sport, and we wanted like the first original gladiator sports from the heyday that there's nowhere where a lot of these things other than like people putting together little stuff on YouTube and things like that, but in a high produced manner. I want to just have this where people can go to my platform and be able to just see and learn about all the personalities, not just the well-known fighters that we all know, but there's so many characters in boxing and all in every aspect. So those are a lot of big plans that I want to do.
Yeah, sounds like what you're doing is going to help a lot of kids get
Yes.
recognition and go up the escalator a lot faster, a lot easier.
Well, if we don't do that, then we're not going to have the superstars to take over the sport. We have to create that next Floyd Mayweather, the next Mike Tyson, the next Shane Mosley. If we don't do it, then it's just gonna, yeah, you might have a guy that come through the crease here and there, but then that hurts the whole sport of boxing. That hurts the whole sport because the more bigger names you have that's worldly recognized, that's out that people just know as a celebrity and as a superstar in general, the better this whole sport is for the guys. Even for the guys that don't make it to that level, they can still benefit from the sport because it's a lot more money in the sport that can pay those guys as well. So it helps everybody.
Awesome. Awesome. And last question, I'll let you go. So I hear the Saudis are getting into the boxing
Yes.
system. How do you feel about that?
I think it's um, I think it's a great thing. Any capital infusions in that type of manner, the way, especially the way that he's coming into doing it, and he's giving the public the fights that they want to see. Well, most of them. I love that aspect of it. The only part I don't like is wanting to try to make it one league type of a thing where everybody go up under his umbrella, because I think that's the uniqueness about boxing, is that it's so many different routes and paths to become that top person. That's one thing that I think that make boxing what it is and what makes it unique. There's not just one way to go. There's this promoter, that promoter. You can stay by yourself. You can start your own way. You can do it this way, that way. You're never too old. You never count it out. There's always a way. And I love the freedom of that. That part I don't agree with, but everything else that I love that he's doing.
When you say he, who are you talking about?
His Excellency Turkey Alashay.
Okay.
He's the one that's behind doing everything from Saudi Arabia.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. All right. So I know I interrupted you in the middle of your day and
Oh
you're in
no,
the
no,
car.
yours is good. No, I was fine. I was getting prepared for it, and I had finished up me, so I was just kind of waiting. I was like, I would just stay put because I didn't want to be driving and talking to you. So I was like, hey, but I was excited and couldn't wait for it.
Okay. All right. So I'll let you go. You've got a busy day ahead of you. I know a little bit about some of the projects you're working on, and so we'll maybe do another podcast when those projects materialize and are off the ground. I think there'll be some exciting stuff. So we'll leave a little mystery at the end. So viewers, stay tuned, keep following, because you really, really want to know what Ron's working on next. It is some crazy stuff. And I'm fortunate to have gotten a peek into it. So that's all I'm going to
Yeah,
say.
no, I appreciate it, and stay tuned. And hey, I won't let you guys down, and it's going to be big. So stay tuned.
Cheers. Thank you, Ron.
Cheers. Thank you. Appreciate it.